The Independent National Electoral Commission has declared the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Monday Okpebholo, the winner of the Edo State governorship election. Senator Okpebholo polled in well over 291,000 votes to defeat his closest rival, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Aswe Ighodalo, who polled well over 247,000 votes. Out of the 18 local governments, Okpebholo won in 10 local government areas. Ighodalo won in 8 local government areas, while the third-placed candidate, Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party, did not win in any of the local government areas. Dengiyefa Angalapu, a research analyst at the Center for Democracy and Development West Africa, joins us on the news now to discuss how far INEC complied with its electoral management regulations in the conduct of the Edo State governorship election against the background of PDP's allegations that its agents were shut out of the collation centers. Good afternoon and welcome to Newsday.
Yeah, good afternoon, Nigeria. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you as well. Now, of course, you're fully aware the PDP has alleged that its agents were shut out of the collation centers. What specific INEC regulations govern party agents' access, and how can compliance be independently verified?
That's quite an interesting question, and really it speaks to the cross of the Edo elections. Because if you observe the elections, especially from Saturday, let's say from Friday, Saturday the deal day, and then of course the post-election happenings on Sunday, you will realize that a lot of the observing institutions and civil society organizations would have said the early part of the elections and all of that were peaceful and all that. But when it got to the collation, we had serious challenges. And different civil society organizations came together to issue, issue a report, issue basically a press statement, talking about calling the attention of the general public and INEC to some of the discrepancies and some of the issues arising from the collation period. But I mean, I will speak broadly to the performance of INEC even before the collation. In about 45% of all of the polling units that the Center for Democracy and Development sent observers to, voting did not start on time. About 10 a.m. in Emotan College, voting has not started. That could be attributed to several reasons and the perennial logistical challenges of INEC right from 1999 till now. We had thought that the challenges would have been overcome, especially because it's recurrent. And if you look at different elections in Nigeria, you could almost say, even without observing the elections, that logistics challenges would occur. So we saw a situation that was very peculiar in Edo, where the weather condition also played a role. And of course, the National Union of Road Transport Workers and all of the controversies that came on board was also an issue. So in some situations, we particularly noted that while INEC officials were ready to go to the different polling units, the National Union of Road Transport Workers and their drivers were not at the venue. At some point when the National Union of Road Transport Workers would be at the venue, probably the security agencies were late. So all of those caused delay in the opening of the polls. And then, so that was one major challenge that we noticed during the early hours of the polls. And then when it came to the collection, we also saw, and quite sadly, that many civil society organizations and media were not allowed into the collation center. Of course, INEC came after a while to say it was because of fears of violence and disruptions that occurred. But that level of crisis communication, that level of proactive communication that should have come earlier for people to understand was not actually there. So it was really, really challenging. And to the press statement by the PDP, it is not just a concern by the PDP, really. It is also some concerns that have been raised by civil society organizations. So if you go on the IReV, you will realize that especially in Ovia Northeast local government, there are discrepancies, discrepancies of of the results that were uploaded from the polling unit and that were, that were announced at the collation center. These are serious concerns. These are serious concerns that we just cannot throw under the carpet. These are very, very germane and serious concerns. So we are still observing the process, and we hope that INEC follows its own guideline. I mean, INEC has the legal mandate to review election results. They have the legal mandate to say, we've announced this result, we can still review, in these particular places where, we think that things were not done properly. So we are still observing the process, because what is going to happen really is that if all of these things are not done properly, and of course it's very, very obvious that this is going to lead up to different litigations. And in a country where we are managing our resources, we are in a very difficult time in terms of inflation. It is not the time where political parties and candidates will spend state resources or personal resources, in the law court, while probably, the Edo project will be left unattended to, or probably the governor will be distracted.
Okay, you've made a lot of very, valid and important points. I'd just like to unpack some of them in greater detail. Let's look at the aspect of IReV, which is a huge topic of conversation today. Now, without speculating, what are the real discrepancies that you were able to independently verify? Of course, the PDP has brought a set of their own discrepancies, such as overvoting and so forth. But of course, as observers, you've had an opportunity to do your own independent analysis. What are the major discrepancies that you're seeing between the IReV and what your observers saw transpiring at the polling units? What are the biggest differences?
Yeah, so we deployed 70 trained observers to the field, along with some countering misinformation specialists. So what we observed, especially in Ovia Northeast, was that in some polling units, the results that were uploaded were very blurry. You just cannot see anything. And the INEC, the IReV system was to ensure that there is transparency. We could also go there and then verify the results, and of course, calculate simultaneously as INEC is, doing its own collation. But we couldn't see results. Yeah, I mean, it was very, 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 very blurry in some places. While in also some places, in same Ovia Northeast, I can't be very specific now because I'm not holding our press statement here. But really, if you see, in Ovia Northeast, we also saw that in some places there was overvoting. It was very obvious. And in particular, some political parties had a higher number of votes than even the accredited numbers, just on political party. So it's a very, very serious concern, and it's not something that we need to...
Can you give us a specific example?
Well, I am not with a press statement here, but I mean, if you will give me just a minute, I will just open and then give a specific example.
Okay, sorry. I just, because these things are thrown into the public space, so we just want to be sure that our viewers are also enlightened about the facts.
Yes. So in Unit 5 specifically, in Ikoro Primary School, the Form ESC 8, as uploaded on IReV, has 150 registered voters, but only 31 voters were accredited. So these are some of the discrepancies. Then there were also some other issues like that. So there are several issues. Okay, so now look at this. In weapon registration area in polling unit at Osholo, we also had issues of overvoting. So INEC also uploaded the results where votes recorded for the APC were higher than the accredited number of voters with 31 accredited voters, but 352 votes for the APC, and then we had 52 votes for the PDP. So look at it, 213 accredited voters, but we had 352 votes for the APC and 52 for the PDP in weapon registration area, Esako East local government. So I mean, there are several cases like that in the press statement that I believe that have also been released to your platform.
Well, thank you for giving us those important numbers and specific units and areas. Earlier on, when you were responding to my question, you did say that it's obvious that a lot of litigation is going to follow, and the timing couldn't be worse considering the the current economy in Nigeria. If you were to advise any of those involved, the parties, the individuals that are going to pursue litigation based on them not being content or with the outcome, what approach would you suggest that might not be as draining as what you anticipate, in the litigation process, financially draining and also time consuming?
Well, I think it's a bit difficult. We actually need to get it clear. Litigation and the court system, the judiciary, is part of the electoral process. So if they aren't satisfied with the election results or even the collation process, I think that the best would be to seek redress, really. So if you tell someone not to use the judicial process, you probably would have given the option of, and some other means that we do not desire. So it is free for them to go to court and then of course make their case in court. But the only challenge most times is that the court system distracts a whole lot from the real governance process. So what I will implore is that the citizens, the political parties and the candidates involved is that they should think of Edo first. If you are thinking of Edo first, you will not probably use all of Edo's resources in pursuing a court case. If you think of Edo first, you probably think of the best way forward, not looking at undermining judges, but looking at just following due process. Why we are here today, it's simply because our election process has not been transparent enough. So I specifically I'm not in the group that blames the court really, because if the election process was transparent enough, I can see and you can see that it is transparent, it is free, fair, and credible. I mean, the court will not have a case. The court will really not have a case because there will be no business going into the court. It is as a result of the failure for us to follow guidelines, the failure for us to follow democratic values in this country that has led us to a situation where the court now determines elections in Nigeria. And I think it's quite worrisome. More worrisome is the fact that we've introduced technology into our electoral system, and we're thinking that technology will be the final arbiter. Technology will make our election more credible. But now more than ever, I am now convinced that technology do not even have morality of their own. The morality technology has is dependent on the players. It is dependent on the citizens. So if citizens are ignorant, if citizens do not want to play by the rules, technology can do nothing for us. So it means that we need to go back to our system and begin to build democratic values. We saw a situation where votes were bought. Votes were sold. And for example, in Emotan College in Edo State, we saw a situation where when vote buying was done between 5,000 to 10,000, a lot of people came out to vote. So it means that even citizens really, it is something that has become part of the electoral system. So citizens even demand to be paid for them to vote. So I think this kind of situations requires consistent communication, consistent voter education process. So I think that really it is not just about a court, it is about democratic values. And of course, in West Africa, Nigeria is one country that we don't want to fall in terms of anything, because our neighbors are now in a military rule. We've also had our own very sad experience of military dictatorship, and we really don't want to go there.
Right. Now, one point of contention that is currently ongoing with various people having various positions is the issue of collation centers, or rather the process of collating being moved from the local government areas to the central headquarters and the legality around that process. Can you tell us your position on it? Because some people have said that the law doesn't say anything about the movement of collating from the local government area and to be completed at the headquarters, as we saw happening in Edo State. Can you enlighten us on this?
So it's actually very simple and straightforward. Yes, collation it's supposed to be done at the local government, but there is some caveat to it. So INEC has the right to move the collation out of a local government when they perceive and they are reasonably convinced, that it is not secure. When they are reasonably convinced that the process is going to be disruptive, so they have the right to move it. But the whole idea is that when was it communicated to all the parties involved? Did they agree and all of that? So there has to be some proactive communication, and for people to agree. So it is not as though parties are kept in the dark and then collation is now moved from one place to the other. They have to be properly communicated. They say, oh, reasonably, by either some security advice or whatever, we have realized that collation can no longer take place in this particular local government. So we are moving it, to in another safe environment. That will be understandable. So I think the challenge there in Edo was crisis communication, was proactive communication. And I think INEC needs to work better on that.
All right, Mr. Angalapu, you've said so many things during this interview, but what has stood out to me, your last response was that you said we've introduced technology to our electoral system and you are concerned that the morality of the technology is dependent on the players and the citizens. This was an election in which you were looking forward to INEC actually delivering. But from the feedback you're giving us, I guess it's fair to say that you don't think it was a very transparent process. Now, how would you like to see future elections take place, seeing that the introduction of technology hasn't really helped out in any way?
So I really think that for future elections in Nigeria, we need to begin to interrogate the political values. And that would mean that we need to engage more with the voters. How come we are recording lots of low voter turnout? So same Edo, in Edo Central, we had 87% of PVC collected. We just had just about 25% of voter turnout. In same Edo, in Edo North, we had 94% of PVC collected. We just had about 33% of voter turnout. In Edo South, where they had a very large voter population, we had about 82% of PVC collected. We had only 17% of voter turnout. That for me is very disturbing. It means that citizens are disengaging from the political process, and we need to correct that. And we need to correct that through confidence building. Governance needs to deliver. Democracy needs to fight for itself, and I think that's very important. Also, INEC needs to begin to think around various ways. If you are using the National Union of Road Transport Workers and it's not working, and it's leading to logistical challenges, why not change the process? Also, on another thing that came out very bare was actually the weather condition. We saw a heavy downpour. We saw a heavy downpour. It means that with all of the climatic conditions and all the changes that are happening in the world today, we need to begin to factor that into our electoral process, because INEC guidelines says you cannot go out with an umbrella, because an umbrella can be used as a weapon. Now that we are having all of these climatic conditions, do we need to say that in future elections, possibly the polling units will now be in a place that is shaded, or we are going to even provide shades, temporary shades for polling officials. Remember, we use paper-based ballot system, and I told you that, and I said that in Ovia Northeast, in some places, that the results were very blur. Who knows? Well, we've not confirmed that, but who knows if it was the rain that destroyed those ballot papers and all of that. So it means that we need to think holistically. Then, how technology works for us. We need to understand really, and I'll repeat it again, that technology does not have morality of their own. We need to come together to say, oh, technology cannot solve the issue of electoral violence. Technology cannot solve the issue of inclusivity. Technology cannot solve the issue of low voter turnout. It's about democratic governance, delivering economic needs, social needs, and and delivering basically the concerns of the people. Democracy being close to the people, and when democracy is close to the people in terms of participation, people will engage with the system. We need to see a situation where voter turnout in Nigeria increases to 50 to 60% at least, before we can begin to say that democracy is working, because really democracy is about the people. And if the people are not engaging in the system, what kind of democracy is that really?
And still speaking on the people, there were widespread reports of vote buying. How do we tackle this menace that seems to have come to stay?
So I have looked at the concept of vote buying for some time, and I will say it's in two ways. One is you could attribute it to to the widespread poverty in Nigeria. Remember the last multidimensional report of poverty in Nigeria says about 103 million people are actually poor, and you can imagine all of the inflation that have happened in Nigeria. So you can imagine that vote buying was actually worse, maybe was worse because of the inflationary pressure. But there's also a second way to look at it. The second way to look at vote buying is that citizens are disinterested in politics. For them, they might just feel that, okay, whoever that comes into power does not really have us at heart. So why do we not collect 5,000 and 10,000 naira? Maybe 5,000 and 10,000 naira is better than getting nothing really, better than not getting hospitals, better than not getting good roads, better than not getting pipe-borne water. So what is actually in for them? When citizens know that a good hospital will be built for them, I'm not sure that citizens of Nigeria will go for 5,000 naira. I mean, let's not behave as if Nigerians are not enlightened. They know the value of a 5,000 naira and a good hospital. They know the difference between a 5,000 naira and a good road system. So when objectively the governance delivers, people will begin to say, no, I don't think 5,000 naira is what our security. I don't think 5,000 naira is what the good road system. So I really think that first, governance has to deliver. Secondly, we need to deal with the issue of poverty in Nigeria. Then thirdly, we need to deal with, punishment for vote buying. So I saw, and very, very commendable to the EFCC, we saw arrest of about 3 individuals in Edo. That is very commendable. But 3 out of what? 3 out of how many people? And why? I am really very worried that we are targeting the receivers of vote buying, but not the givers of the money.
Absolutely.
Who brings that money? So we need to begin to, yes.
This has been a very insightful analysis and discussion. We really like to thank you for joining us here on Newsday. Mr. Dengiyefa Angalapu, research analyst at the Center for Democracy and Development. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.